In the murky streets of London's Whitechapel district, a spectre of terror haunted the alleys. Inspired by the grisly Jack the Ripper murders of the late 19th century, a new series of gruesome killings emerged only this time. The phantoms strike in the shadows, leaving behind no evidence, no witnesses, and chillingly, no bodies. The only thing left were whispers of horror echoing through the cobblestone streets. Imagine a city teetering on the edge of fear, where women began to vanish without a trace. The police were floundering in the darkness, every lead leading to a dead end, each day bringing new paranoia. Panic spread like wildfire amongst the residents, while rumors circulated about a well-dressed man seen lurking around the last known locations of the women. But crucially, there were no solid connections, no DNA, no prints, no signs of struggle. As time dragged on, the media got wind of the unsettling phenomenon. Headlines screamed about a new mystery gripping the city. Is London under siege by a modern Jack the Ripper? Amidst the cacophony, investigators faced a host of inconsistencies. Reports indicated that the victims all had links to a local shelter, a safe haven for vulnerable women trying to escape the city's harsh realities. But how could so many vanish from a place that was meant to protect them? Frantic, the police launched a full-scale investigation. Detectives combed the streets, interviewing anyone who might have seen something. Yet, with each passing moment, their desperation grew. Where were the bodies? Where were the signs of a struggle? Then, out of nowhere, a breakthrough surfaced. A homeless man, known to the streets as Old Ted, shuffled into a police station, his eyes wild. He claimed to have seen something strange, a glimpse of a shadowy figure looming over one of the victims in an alleyway just days before she vanished. I swear it was a well-dressed bloke. He just stood there, looking over her. I thought he was helping her at first. He slurred, trembling slightly. Yet, when the detectives pressed him on details, the inconsistencies began to unfold. What color was his coat? Asked one investigator. Eyebrows raised, Old Ted faltered. I don't remember. It was dark. Doubt seeped into the air. Could they rely on the ramblings of a homeless man? But it was the only lead they had. In a frantic attempt to piece together the narrative, the detectives reviewed the reports from the shelter. Each woman had been last seen leaving at odd hours. Some were missing for days, others floated in and out of life, caught up in fleeting shadows. Yet in every instance, a familiar pattern emerged. Each woman had been seen with a man matching the description that Old Ted had given. Fueled by urgency, the detectives decided to enhance their investigation around the shelter, determined to uncover the truth behind the chilling disappearances. But more mysteries sprang forth. As they traced the last movements of the victims, something further confused them. The last known connections revealed they had been discussing a treasure hidden somewhere within the depths of Whitechapel. Treasure, the lead detective scoffed, scribbling notes feverishly. Why would they be discussing treasure? And that's when the real twist arrived. With each inquiry, it became painfully evident that the conversations surrounding this elusive prize had drawn them into a labyrinth of deception. Several interviews unfolded that unveiled the existence of an underground network, a group of individuals using the allure of unearthly riches to lure vulnerable women into the night. As the webs of conspiracy tightened, another witness came forward, a local barmaid, clearly shaken. I overheard two men the other day, she stammered. They were talking about how easy it was to make the women disappear. They joked about taking them, no one would bat an eye. Just like the Ripper, they said. Detectives exchanged alarmed glances. Could this be the key to solving the vicious cycle of violence? But gathering evidence of these underground dealings would be no easy task. They needed more, something tangible that would blow the case wide open. Time was running out. Desperate to find clarity, they staked out the shelter, hoping to catch a glimpse of the shadowy figures preying on the unsuspecting women. Days passed in tension as officers watched and waited, each minute ticking by like an hour. But then, on a fog-laden night, everything spiraled into chaos. A woman stumbled out of the shelter, eyes wide with fear. She looked as if she'd been running. The detectives sprang into action, darting out toward her. "Wait!" they shouted, but an ominous silence gripped the street. Suddenly, a black car screeched to a halt nearby, the doors flinging open. Shocked, they watched as several figures emerged, their movements swift. Before the detectives could react, the woman was yanked into the car, her screams echoing through the night. In a desperate attempt, the officers rushed forward, yelling for backup. But just as they reached the vehicle, the car roared off into the darkness, slipping away as quickly as a phantom. "Get the license plate," one detective shouted breathlessly, heart pounding. But it was too late. The car had vanished into the fog, enshrined in shadows. Despair washed over him. They had lost another potential victim, another chance at unraveling the twisted fate of the women. But just as they regrouped, a striking reveal emerged from a nearby alley. Out came old Ted, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. "Found this. I thought it might help," he gasped, his eyes darting nervously. Could this hold the key? When they opened it, the detectives found a list of names, a collection of women along with dates, some scratched out as if they had been marked for disposal. "This is sick," one officer muttered. "We've got to connect these dots and find them." But just as they prepared to delve deeper, another threat loomed larger than before. A low, mocking voice echoed from the shadows. "You think you've gotten close? You know nothing." A figure stepped back into the blackness, engulfed by the eerie night. Remember to subscribe to True Crime and Scene. As the shadows of Whitechapel deepened, the detective grasped the crumpled piece of paper old Ted had provided. A list of names, some crossed out, stared back at him like a chilling snapshot of fate. Could this be the key to unraveling the mystery behind the disappearing women? Just then, a mocking voice echoed through the alley. "You think you've gotten close? You know nothing." The figure slipped back into the darkness, leaving the detectives reeling. In that moment, the air thickened with tension. Who was this new figure? What dark truths were they hiding? The stakes had risen to dizzying heights, and time was running out. Desperate to make sense of the situation, the detective turned to old Ted, who was still trembling with fear. "Who said that? Did you see his face?" the detective asked urgently. "No, but I've heard things talk in the taverns," Ted stammered, eyes darting. "They say there's a group, and they don't just take women. They dispose of them. The Ripper was one of them." Before he turned to his voice trailed off, haunted by memories. The detectives exchanged looks, fully understanding the weight of Ted's words. This was bigger than they had anticipated, much bigger. The conversation shifted from a single killer to an entire network thriving in the darkness of London. They needed to get the list cleaned up fast. "Let's regroup," the lead detective ordered, adrenaline fueling his directives. "We need to dig into these names, find out who they are, and who's behind this." "Old Ted, can you remember anything more?" "Just whispers of a circle of shadows, types who dabble in the occult," Ted muttered. "They believe they can harness power through these women. They'd do anything to keep their secrets safe." The detectives felt a chill run down their spines. This wasn't just a crime, it was a horror fueled by something twisted. They needed a plan. The night unfolded quickly as they scoured case files, linking names to circumstances, piecing together the fragmented puzzle. Hours passed, each review growing heavier with dread. Finally, a name surfaced that sent shockwaves through the room. Margaret Wilkins. A woman who had disappeared last season but was known to have been researching local legends surrounding the supposed occult activities in the area. Margaret had mentioned the circle of shadows in her last diary entry, noting challenges she faced in uncovering their secrets. According to her notes, she believed they had intricate rituals surrounding the disappearances in Whitechapel, and that they were drawing power from the fears of women. Could she be alive? Another investigator breathed, eyebrows furrowed. Have the search teams revisite her last known location? The lead detective commanded. If we can find her, she might shed light on this entire underground. But there wasn't a moment to waste. As they rushed out to follow leads on Margaret, they received another shock. Another woman had gone missing. Lily Foster, last seen just a few blocks from where they had found old Ted. Panic set in as they sprinted to the area where she had been last seen. Arriving at the scene, a chilling atmosphere wrapped around them. The fog thickened, dimming the flickering streetlight. They canvassed the neighborhood but found nothing. No witnesses. No signs. The streets felt haunted, empty but heavy with dread. Then a breakthrough came. A neighbor, a petite woman with a sharp gaze, stepped forward. I saw her. She was taken by a man in a black coat. He moved like a shadow. I didn't think. I thought she was just gone. The woman's voice trembled, fear clear on her face. A man in a black coat. The frightening phantom. Was this the same figure old Ted had mentioned? With their hearts racing, they pulled out the list again. Another name surfaced, Lily Foster. Her name wasn't crossed out. But did it mean she was still alive? Or had she already met a tragic fate at the hands of this dark group? Guys, let's get to Margaret's last known address before it's too late. The lead detective shouted, urgency punctuating his every word. They made their way through the fog, racing against time, hearts pounding in rhythm with their dread. As they approached the street where Margaret had last been seen, a flickering light caught their attention, a small cabin hidden behind a veil of trees. Approaching cautiously, they could feel tension mounting. Stay sharp, the lead detective ordered. Let's check this out. They crept up to the door, the faint glow spilling from underneath. Before they could knock, they heard muffled voices from inside, cult-like whispers that sent chills through their bones. Holding his breath, he motioned for everyone to listen in closer. Tonight we bring forth the shadows. A strong voice commanded. The final sacrifice will awaken our true power. Sacrifice. Panic surged through the detective's mind. Was this group planning something horrific? They prepared to storm the door when suddenly, it swung open. A hooded figure stood before them. Welcome to the Circle of Shadows. It intoned, voice draped in mystery. You've come just in time. Adrenaline surged. Where's Margaret Wilkins? The lead detective roared, heart racing. But before he could finish his question, the figure stepped aside, revealing a dark chamber illuminated by flickering candles. The officers rushed in, only to uncover a horrific scene. Margaret was bound to an altar, the room thick with the scent of incense and fear. Floating symbols adorned the walls, dark symbols the detectives recognized all too well. Get her down, one officer yelled, grabbing at the bindings. But just as they freed her, the room erupted with chaos. The hooded members of the cult emerged, faces obscured by shadows, frenzied screams filling the air. The detectives were quickly outnumbered. You've interrupted our ritual, one of the assailants snarled. They had to fight back, but all around them chaos unfolded. In the midst of struggle, the lead detective caught a glimpse of a familiar face. The man in the black coat. He stood against the wall, a twisted smile playing on his lips, watching the pandemonium unfold. What is wrong? Can't handle the shadows? You'll pay for your intrusion, he sneered, slipping back into the darkness. Stop him, another detective shouted as they broke free from the struggle, but the man vanished. With Margaret safe but the chaos still raging, the detective's heart raced with urgency. they had to get out, but now they held the dark secrets within these walls. And the threat loomed larger than ever.